Yeah, this is fair use, Act of 1976, fair use of criticism, educational, and scholarship. I am not making any money from this. Fair use, fair use. Yeah, so this is Canada's C-9 law, officially known as the Combating Hate Act, right? Is federally legalization that amends the crime or criminal code to strengthen protections against hate motivated crimes. This is public displays of hate symbols and the intimidation of marginalized communities. The law targets escalating hate incidents across the country, right? So, um, when you think of that, most of those who got hate symbols are mostly those those so-called white groups, self-proclaimed white groups, right? You have the was it the skinheads or whatever, they got that the lightning bolt, or or the swastika. Those are symbols of hate, well known, right? I mean, um, they also intimidate, but see how somehow they're going to try to not try, they're going to link, which they do that anyway now. Well, the black Hebrew Israelites are just as bad as the cake. Well, we never blew up churches. There's no one ever did anything, and then the the one thing you try to tie that to is that that shooting at the kosher deli a couple of years back, which they wasn't really in the truth, right? They believed in was it what do you call it, um that there's more in that Egyptologist, yeah, that's what you call it, Egyptologist mixed with Christianity or some type of thing. That's really what they were, right? And with a Hebrew twist, or say they're Israelites, right? But which that's a group of mixed up people, because you got three different ideologies wrapped in one. So that ain't us, right? you know. And it says protections. Yeah, protecting protects protects communities space, making it a crime to to intentionally intimidate or obstruct individuals from accessing places of worship, schools, community centers, daycares, senior rest uh, residences, cemeteries. Violations are punishable by up to 10 years in prison, right? Hey, whoa, right? Hey, you know? Yeah, so this is Revelation chapter 2, verse 10. But before that, I'm going to give all praises, all honor, and all glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachaha Kodash. I'd like to give double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and do well. To the elder apostles, bishops in Connecticut, the bishops, the preachers, the teachers, the evangelists, and the four winds preaching in truth. and sincerity, risking your lives more now than ever, the hopeful elect. The elect, shalom. Shalom to the elect. You Israelite foreigners who phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel through your father and have come back to the fold. Shalom to you sisters, you achwatim, who listen and learn under your husband, which is your spiritual leader, with meekness and with silence. This your brother Aram Yahweh with the lesson. And it reminded me when I was reading that, it said that you have prison time up to 10 years, right? And so this is Revelation 2:10. Fear none of these things which thou shalt suffer, right? That's what's about to come in, a great suffering for truth's sake, right? Which thou shall suffer, right? Because that's what we're going through, right? It's all about the kingdom, all about Yahweh Shai getting his glory. We're not in the time of our glory. We're in the time of his glory, the Father's glory, the Son's glory, right? Right? And ultimately, yeah, it even says what? To continue this until Israel is made a praise in the earth, right? And Israel, the true Hebrew Israelites, are not made a praise in the earth, right? Behold, which means feast your eyes, look, pay attention. The devil, right? The false accuser, that's what they're going to do. Falsely accuse you, right? Shall cast some of you into prison, see? That ye may be tried, right? It's a test. The Lord trieth the hearts. And ye shall have tribulation 10 days, right? That's that. You might get 10 years in prison. But you have tribulation 10 days, but thou faithful unto death. See? And I will give you a crown of life, right? Yeah, so this is Isaiah chapter 62, verse 7. This is Bible Hub, right? Which they're gonna be taking down the internet also as well, right? Because this is technically the beginning stages of them infringing on your freedom of speech, freedom of belief, freedom of religion, right? You know, it's just a guise that they like to do, like to hide things behind, underhanded hide what they're doing, right? And it says this is the new international version. It says, and give him no rest till he establish Jerusalem and make her the praise of the earth, right? And Jerusalem is a people before a place, right? You so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians, but the people who over there in Jerusalem, they're not appraised. No one's coming to them and saying, "Oh my God, you guys are the greatest." No, God, we have to know God is with you, right? You know, no one's saying that about them. We need to come to you so we can learn the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. No one's coming to them for that, right? It says give, all caps, New Living Translation. It says give Yahweh, right? All caps, Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai, no rest, right? He said, you should be in tribulation 10 days, right? But their thing is, hey, you can go to prison for this. We'll give you 10 years. But the Lord said, hey, let no man steal your crown. Hey, do not fear even unto death, right? So you're to what? Give Yahweh no rest until he completes his work, until he makes Jerusalem the praise of the earth, right? And we know that that's not happening, right? Because what? When the wicked are in authority, the people mourn. But when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. All the people of the earth is not rejoicing right now. Pretty much majority of the people, if they're not in denial, right? And we're not talking about the river. If they're not in denial, right? You have to say you're mourning. It's not a good thing what's happening in the earth right now, right? KJV, give him no rest till he establish, until he makes Jerusalem a praise in the earth. Yeah, so this is Revelation chapter 2, verse 10. And this is what is it? Inflicted, root and transliterated, Strong's English. So I'm gonna go ahead and go down to 10.
Strong's G 1176. Deca. Thayer's Lexicon. Second entry. Deca X. Third entry. Deca Octo.
Okay, yeah. Well, I never went into this before, and basically it doesn't give you much at all. Well, doing Deca 10, which said 10 days, and the Esau's telling you at least up to 10 years that you can get. So you may have to suffer that. You might hear, which you're not going to be there 10 years, because the Lord's going to come quicker than 10 years, right? But to hear the verdict, 10 years, I mean, man, that's like what? Was it right here? Suffer. Posco.
Strong's G 3958.
Posco or psycho, right? So more, that's what it looks like. More, because it deals with the psychological, the mind, right? You hear the verdict, 10 years. You give me 10 years for preaching the Bible, right? Because you're speaking that hatred, because you were the black Hebrew Israelites, right? Which we keep saying we're not black. That's a negative connotation. We're not black. We know what you're doing. It's a play on words, to give us to put a negative spin on what's righteous. But hearing those verdicts, right, will be what? To be afflicted, right? It afflict your mind, or have been afflicted, feeling of sensible, or how you say it? Let me lock it, y'all.
Sensible.
Yes, sensible. Like it. I'm trying to, experience or undergoing, right? See, and once you're in there and you're in the courtroom and you're doing it, and you're gonna go undergoing of your senses, right? And you hear 10 years and the gavel hits you. Oh, you know what? I don't want to be a Hebrew Israelite. No, nah. The Lord said, "Be faithful unto death," right? In a good sense, right? To be right, well off, in good case, and ultimately, you are going to be in good case, right? In a bad sense, right? See, and you have your choice, right? You could think, hey, well, this. I'm in good case. Hey, King David had to suffer what he suffered against Saul, right? Was it Daniel suffered. The three holy young men suffered, right? Ultimately, our Lord and our Savior Yahweh Shai, he was numbered with the transgressors, though he had no transgressions. I mean, you're in good case, or you could be like these people who end up flip flopping in a bad sense, to suffer sadly, right? You can walk away. Oh my God, I can't believe it, and walk away all sad, and be in a bad polite, polite, yeah, polite, right? Or of a sick person. Yeah. Hey, you hear 10 years? Hey, bro, you start getting sick. Oh, 10 years? I was only doing what was right. Hey, man, right? Yeah. So right here, continuing on, come back to this article. It says bans hate symbols, prohibits willful public display of symbols associated with listed, T word, in entities, 2 Nazi symbols, the Hakenkreuz or swastika, and SS boat, right? Which mostly going back to those self-proclaimed so-called white groups, right? Because they're the ones who mostly have those symbols, and the noose, right? Yeah. That could definitely start a riot right there, right? But yeah, we'll have to see how this all turns out, because how does Esau, he's gonna find a way to, we'll have nothing to do with any of that stuff, but they find a way to try to, link us either with Islam or some type of something, man. Right? It's just, the behavior of the devil, you know what I mean? Right? He's not the accuser of the brethren for nothing. Okay, clearly defines hatred with a criminal code and establish a significant hatred motivated offense that can increase penalties for any existing crime driven by hate. Yeah, so this is says charter exemptions explicitly protects rights to freedom of expression and religion by exempting acts like peaceful protests, as long as it's peaceful, religious teaching, or displays of symbols for legitimate journalistic or artistic or educational purposes. Right? Which, yeah, okay, yeah. Which, which most brothers do. But hey, you gotta. This is just the first step. You know that. We know that we're not uh, ignorant of Satan devices, right? Yeah. Meanwhile, yeah, you're not coming out of Iran. Yeah, World War III. They got to push the micro C hip. So we know what we're measuring the time diligently, right? Right. So it says the bill received royal assent on June 18th. Right. Basically, it passed June 18th, 2026, and officially comes into force on July 18th. So you're giving you like a month or so, whatever. No, not even less than that, huh? A couple weeks, 2 weeks, something like that. 3 weeks, something like that. From 18th to the 18th. Well, I guess maybe it's a month or something. Almost, yeah. It's almost 2 weeks, right? 3, 4 weeks. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, about a month or so, give or take. Um, it was introduced by the Minister of Justice in response to rising police reported hate crimes and community calls for increased security and accountability. There we go. Right? For the exact legal text or updates, you can review official bill C-9 ligist um, info, or read the background some summary and on the Department of Justice of Canada website. So yeah, you know, hey, kind of like the apostle say, you got circumspect. You got to be circumspect out there, right? But we know that's one step closer to everything because we're not ignorant of Satan's devices. Yeah. So this is 2 Corinthians chapter 2 verse 11. Let Satan, lest Satan, right, shall get an advantage of us. We are not ignorant of his devices, right? So we know that this is a precursor of things to come, right? The basically the famine of the word, it's on its way, right? Yeah. So this is Second Ezra chapter 9 verse 1. It says, "He answered me then and said, Measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs," right? So really, all these things that they're doing, Senate, they're just tightening it up. We're just going to tighten it up a little bit, because we have these uprising of hate crimes and this and that. So we need to do these things. We know this is ultimately a sign for us, right? Because we're the ones who's measuring the time diligently, right? In itself, because we know what's going on according to the prophecies, according to the scriptures, right? This is a thing that happened at the time of the Apostle Paul, Peter, right? Peter had to go through this, right? Right? There was an uproar of the people, of them teaching Yahushua. Same thing with Paul, right? So we know that this is just a sign of the times, because basically we're living in the time of Acts all over again, seeing thou seest part of the signs pass, which I have told thee. So you have to been told these things. That's how you know. See, you just going around, and then you see brothers out there with Bible. You've never seen a thing like the nerve of you people to see such a marvel. You know what I'm saying? Are you not entertained? Right? It's not good enough for you. The stretched out arm of the Lord is not good enough for you. Hey, it is what it is. Which have been told to thee before, right? And there's a such thing called reincarnation, regeneration. That's why the Lord speaks of stirring up your pure remembrance, right? It says, then shall thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest, right, which is the Most High Yahweh, which means the existing one, or he that exists, right, or he is, right, and it says, through his only begotten Son, Yahushua, which means Yahushua, he is salvation, right? He, Yah, meaning he, Yahushua, salvation, right? He is salvation, right? Will begin to visit the world which he made, right? Wherefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes, which we experienced that just recently, right? It was in Iran. It's almost 100,000 people injured, hurt, a lot of people unalived. All sorts of things are happening, right? Which it could be believed that it could be the HARP, or one of their machines, some type of weather machine that Esau has, because he has those things. Watch, they show you that in that G.I. Joe, right? Because of Cobra, right? Which is, when you go into Cobra, it's the death adder, right? That stop at their ear. Cobra actually goes around and finds these different jewels, and these different jewels are used for certain machines that they're able to use on the earth to control things on the earth, as far as make earthquakes happen, make tornadoes happen, right? Make fire come down from the sky. They're direct energy weapons, right? So, I mean, you think it's just cartoons, or you think this is just Star Wars, which they even told you that they were going to make a Star Wars program. So this is not television. These are things that they actually, they're possessing, right? You're thinking, but you ain't thinking of right, right? You ain't measuring the time diligently, and that's part of those things, right? Earthquakes, and seeing earthquakes and uproars of the people, and we see that all over the place. So we know what time it is, which us preaching the word makes an uproar sometimes here and there, right? And we can see them trying to use that as a narrative, right? Which that's why we mostly just try to teach to ourselves. We don't really do too much, That way, if the person they come to us, they ask questions, and that way we can say, hey, they came to us, they disturbed us, right? Because obviously it's still said that you have your religious freedoms, right? To preach, right? But you don't go looking to talk to anybody or look to, because then it's like you're antagonizing. But if they come to you, it's a totally different thing, But we know what time we're living in, because even people are starting to see the underlying or the overall thing. What's clear in your face? The truly the rich is really getting richer right in front of your face, and the poor is getting poorer. And it's the thing that they've said for a long time, and nobody does a damn thing about it. Nobody's really saying anything about it. You're so brainwashed. You say they should be able to they shouldn't have to pay taxes. Because what jobs do they create? If they're giving the jobs to AI, what jobs are they creating? They're not even giving you the grunt jobs. Because they got the little AI robot that can mop the floor, right? They got the AI robot that can flip the burgers. They're not even giving you the grunt jobs, bro. So how can you say, hey, they deserve to get the tax breaks? Forget it. Let me keep going. But that's part of the uproars of the people at the end of the day. So that's where the real uproars is going to come from the lack of bread, the lack of food, but also us preaching this word. It's an uproar of the people in the world, right? And this word is scattered in the four quarters of the earth. It says, then shall thou well understand that the Most High Yahweh, right, spake of those things, right, through the prophets, right? And one of those prophets is his son, Yahweh Shai, right? Because it clearly states that when you go into, is it James 1 or Hebrews 1? I think, no, it's Hebrews 1. Hold on, let me get that. Yeah, it's right here. Hebrews 1 and 1 says the power of the Most High Yahweh, right? The highest, right? Who at some sundry times and in diverse manners spake in time past, right? Because he told us before. I had told you these things from before. Measure the time diligently. Told us these things in times past unto the fathers, our forefathers, which we are our forefathers, right? The spirit of the prophet is subject to the prophets by the prophets, right? So we talk to our forefathers, right? And we are our forefathers, right? Have in these last days, right? Here we are, we're in the last days, spake unto us by his son, right? And the last day started when the time of Yahweh Shai was on the scene. So this whole thing has been ticking away, and the time to bring it to this end, right? Because 70 AD caused 1 million Jews, what they call black, to flee into Africa, which later on, after the 1,000 years of Esau being in the dust, right, and being in confusion, in the Caucasus Mountains, grunting as a donkey, when he came out and he started, taking strongholds within Europe by, was it 1492, right? That's when they had, that power through Spain, Portugal, then England, the French, right? They all came to the Americas, right? And then eventually well they brought Jakes from then, from that time, right? From 1492, they brought Jakes from Europe over to America, right? And they may not have called it the transatlantic slave trade or anything like that. Or at that time, they maybe even made them feel free or whatever they might have did. But eventually, they started getting, after capturing and basically putting the land into their hands, right? This Western world, right, where Judah and Ephraim will be oppressed together, right? In America, Babylon the Great, the daughter of Babylon, right? All those things had to be fulfilled, and the last days spoke unto us by his son. And he spoke of 70 A.D., which pushed us into Africa, what other places too, Europe, Africa, but the main place that we know of and we speak of is Africa, right? The Lord should bounce you like a ball into a large place. Well, we got bounced like a ball, right? You put a ball on top of water, and you try to push the ball in the water, it's going to pop back up, and it's kind of like it represents like a boat, and that's how we got here. You should go into Egypt again with ships, see, and that's what the Lord knew. So that was a speeding of the times, so to speak. Lord shortening the days. In that time, whom he have appointed heir of all things, whom also he made the worlds, plural, right? He made the worlds, right? Who, being the brightness of his glory and the express image of his person, right? He looks split image to the Most High. He has hair of woolly hair on his head, on his face. You know what I mean? Color of brass as if it burnt in a furnace, which tells you that in Revelation, that they look like sardine stones, right? And those things, let me see. We keep going. Verse image, and upholds all things by his word, and uphold all things by the word of his power, Salakia, when he had by himself purged our sins, and sat down on the right hand of the majesty on high. Yeah, get back here, because the Lord spake of those things, Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people. Matter of fact, yes, speaking of those earthquakes, matter of fact, I just seen the thing right here. A 6.6 magnitude struck the Gulf Coast of California. That was today. I was just right now, 10 minutes ago. Speaking of those earthquakes, right? Uproars of the people, then shall thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning, right? See, through his son, through his only begotten son. Amen. And it says, for like as all that is made in the world have a beginning and a end, and the end is manifest. So the end, Esau's end, it's coming. Your end is going to be here. So we have to know that all this is going to basically push and speed up the times. So they come and sly, trying to come around the thing. Oh no, we're not infringing on your freedom of speech or anything. We're not doing this, but we know you're setting the stage, right? We're not ignorant of Satan's devices, right? You're not gonna get advantage over us because we're not doing anything anyway. We're just teaching the Bible, and the Bible actually keeps us from breaking the law. So we're actually outstanding citizens, right? So this is Ephesians chapter 5, verse 14 says, "Wherefore he saith, Awake, thou that sleepest," right? And we all were asleep at one point in time, right? That's why the Lord's talking about measuring the time diligently, right? We were asleep, but the Lord said, "Awake," and so now that you're awake, you're measuring what going according to the scriptures, because the Lord spoke of what earthquakes in diverse places, uproars of the people, wars, rumors of wars. This is the time. It said this. They said, "Tell us what are the signs and the things of your second coming." So why wouldn't you get right? You know what I mean? Obviously, the second coming. Hey, it's coming. It's here. We're here. The last days is already here. The time of Yahushai kicked off the last days. So we're at the last of the last because it's here. Because there was no nukes. They couldn't say nukes, right? But there are arrows, right? There are plagues that it speaks about, right? Let every nation shoot at her. Now we can see all these nations are upset with America. We can see all these nations upset with one nation. So you have to measure the time diligently, right? Right? They're holding on to that little bit of what Apostle Tahar always speaks of, that hegemony, right? They have a little bit of power, but people are not. They're not. You know how there's like a bully. I'll give it to you like that. Like Friday after what they would call a nerd or whatever, a cornball, a square, like Craig, to beat up Debo. Everybody in the hood got to look at Debo a different way. It's not necessarily, oh yeah, Debo, he coming up over here, he gonna come punk you. You're not looking at him in the same way anymore. That's why if you think of the I think it's the second one or the third one, whatever, when he breaks out of prison, and he because of all the things you could be doing, you broke out of prison on top of that. That'd be the last thing you would want to do, right? You already broke out. If you get caught, you're gonna get extended more added time for being caught. So why would your one thing? It's because he wanted to get that glory back, and that's kind of like Esau, man. He wants to get that glory back, And but his that's it's gone. Nobody's looking at him like the tough guy anymore. You mean? They got a military, so nobody's just running up on him, but they ain't looking at him like like they used to before, with just all straight fear. So but basically that's part of like measuring. I hope that was a way of breaking it down. I hope that made sense. But we all were asleep, and it said arise from the dead, saying we were all in a dead state of mind, right? That goes back to Ezekiel 37. We're in a dead state of mind, so we have to wake up, man. We have to come out of that dead state. And even what's his name, Nas said I had to get up and not brush the dirt off my shoulders, right? And he was just basically saying that, using in a poetic form, saying that like rap was dead. He said it, right? But this guy sparked a fire in him, with this beef, and so then that's why he made that ether. And right, ether, when you go into it burns different, right? It has it's like a fire, and that's how you got to be on fire with this truth. It's this thing. It woke you up, right? The Lord said seek me 10 times more. So this thing wakes you up. You're on fire. You're like ether, You're knocking the dust off. You know what I mean? You're coming out the grave, knocking. Hey, and now you're awake, right? And Hamashiach, right? Because that Christ is Greek, and we despise Greek, right? Even our ancestors on back said they rather eat pork than speak Greek, right? You know what I'm saying? Showing how much they despised it, which I don't think they would have ate pork, but just showing the disdain for the Greek vernacular, man. Right? But it says shall give thee light, right? Right, the understanding. Like they what is it? Eureka, right? And the form eureka, you know, a moment of clarity, right? Eureka, everything was dark. You were in a dead state, and you got that eureka moment. And that's basically what the Lord has done for us. See then that ye walk circumspectly. See, and now that's part of what measuring the time diligently, walking circumspectly in this time, because we got to look. Hey, these dudes are ready. It says that he's the accuser. I'm not gonna read that he's the accuser of the brethren and then walk around like, oh, and hey, vocab, what, like these other jakes, hey, what's going on, buddy? We want to go eat some pizza, like you try to get the apostles to do. No, we're not gonna do that, man. You are the accuser of the brethren, bro. You're looking us to bring us to the judges and to the police, right? As the scriptures say, right? You're not looking for our help, not our well-being, right? Yeah. So it says, see then that ye walk circumspectly, not as not as fools, right? Because that's what other people are, right? Right? They'll even go into the scripture because they don't understand it. The scripture, it says you should not call nobody a fool. You know how many times the Lord called people fools in the scriptures? This is what you don't know what you're talking about. That's why I said be not as fools, right? Because people are doing foolish things. They're not waking up. They're doing their own thing. They're not paying attention. They're not measuring their time diligently. Hey, they be in a whole bunch of other stuff, especially when you deal with these black Christian churches. They're in a lot of BS madness, man. Right? They don't get into the deepness of the scriptures. They be in a lot of what is that thing called? When they shit, I can't even think of the name. But can't even think of the name. But basically, they be into a lot of that other stuff, that psychobabble things of don't cross under a ladder because it's bad luck, and all these different type of things like that, and because they don't get into the deeper things of the scriptures, man. They think if you call someone a fool or this and that, or you can't judge. Well, the scriptures say to judge, right? You judge every day, right? Don't you just decide whether you want to eat something or you don't want to eat something? What you want to wear or you don't want to wear? And if you wear certain things, especially if you live in certain neighborhoods, right? You have to be circumspect or wise or make a good judgment on if you on the West Coast you don't wear red or blue in the wrong neighborhood, or you don't go to Chicago and tilt your hat to the left or the right. You say you have to be smart, man. You have to be circumspect. But this is more circumspect as far as what's going on, right? Because redeeming the time, because the days are evil, right? We're in the last days, the last time, and these times are evil, and they're only increasing in wickedness, right? When your president and your vice president and the presidents before that came off of not just Jekyll Island, they came off of Epstein Island and some other islands. You know what I mean? When hey, right? It says, wherefore be ye not unwise, but understanding, right? See, breaking down, hey, measuring the time diligently. You got to have some understanding. What did the scripture say? Because you'll hear, especially a black Christian church, with all I get understanding. Amen. But they have absolutely no understanding. They don't have any wisdom, right? And they don't have any understanding. But understanding what the will of our out of one is. Yeah. So you got to understand what the will of Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai is, right? And that's definitely not being foolish, playing a game as if time is not ticking, as if we don't know that this is one step closer to the Lord coming back. This ain't one step closer to the hour of temptation. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So this is Amos chapter 8, verse 7. It says, well, all caps, Yahweh have sworn by the excellency of Yahweh, right? Which says Jacob, but it's Yahweh, right? Which is our forefather who wrestled with an angel and became Yashar'Allah, right? Which they call Israel. Surely I will never forget any of their works. See? And that's whether you're doing wicked or you're doing good. The Lord is not going to forget your works, right? Which that's what the Lord, well, that's where the Lord, his name is in there, right? He is. Thou shalt believe that he is, right? Yahweh, he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him, right? You have to believe, right? He is, right? Yahweh. Shall not the land tremble for this, and everyone mourn that dwell therein, right? Because we know that America is about to get shaken up, right? This was talking about Israel, but who's here, right? The Israelites, right? And it shall rise up wholly as a flood, and it shall be cast out and drowned as by the flood of Egypt, right? Which we know that what's going to flood this place is thermonuclear fire, man, right? But before that, you're going to have a series of earthquakes. It's going to be a famine. It's going to be pestilence. You're going to have a lot of people just unaliving each other, right? It's going to be all out war, you know what I mean? Because of the lack of bread. So we know that these are what signs diligently in itself that we're to measure, right? And it shall come to pass in that day, saith the outer one power, the Most High Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, that I will cause the sun to come down at noon and will darken the earth in the clear day. See, it's about to be a dark day in America, Babylon the Great, right? Which is the city of confusion. So it's going to be great confusion, and people being judged, unalived, right? And so we're measuring that time that it's to come, right? And it says, and I will turn your feast into mourning and your songs into lamentation. See, it's talking about the Israelites, but even here, we're not going to no, protests. We're not going to no 4th of July celebration or any of these parades or any of these type of things like that. We're not going to be in these places, man, right? You know, because they're going to have these sleeper cells. There's a lot of things that's going to start happening, right? You're going to start feeling the what do you call it? How do you say it? Slovakia. But you got to feel the weight of the sorrows that these other nations have faced when they constantly are bombarding and using their jets to level a building, and these people have to crawl under the rubble to get their loved ones, and then with minimum what do you call it, minimum advances like tools. They don't got the backhoes and the different this and that, all this to be able to pull it all out. These people got just shovels, and and they're lucky if they do have some type of machine or something that can help them. When you don't have a machine, when there's no oil, right? Because they're talking about the oil crisis, whether if it's for the gas or just oil just in itself for being able to just put oil on stuff. Things have to be greased and oil. You have to do oil changes on your vehicles, right? So meanwhile, they're telling you, they're smacking you all in the face about how they're gonna mess with the oil. They're gonna put an extra, I forgot what it's called, something 15, which they tell you it turns into gunk in your engine after a while, so it messes up your engine. So they basically say they don't give a damn about you, right? But you people go on and on. So it's just, and I will bring up sackcloth, which is, that's for the dead, the mourning, upon the all loins, and baldness upon every head, right? See, then what's her name? Jada Pinkett Smith is gonna have a reason to be bald headed, right? Because that's what you do for the dead, right? You're not just gonna make up some things, say you got some disease you don't have, and then have these rebellious women start cutting their hair, and then, oh, I got the alopecia, right? That's not a good thing. That's a curse, right? That's what the Lord's telling you. And baldness upon every head, and I will make it as the mourning of an only son, and the end thereof as a bitter day, right? Because, especially you people who are in love with America, like when the 9/11 happened, people were floored. It felt like it happened to you. It felt like that was a deliberate attack against just you. It wasn't like they're doing it towards America, or they're doing it towards a building, or it has something to do with something. It wasn't a far off. It was attacking you. See, that's what things are going to happen. You're going to feel it. It's going to this time is going to hurt. It's going to hurt your feelings when they release these sleeper cells, right? They're going to attack those things you really love. You hold cherish to yourself. Baseball games, or some of these different things. Wrigley Stadium or something like that. Things that really make you feel American. You know what I mean? Hey, they start attacking those things, and there's no way to put those things back together. Once it's gone, it's gone. Someone walking there with some type of, who knows what these sleeper cells are going to do. But that's why we stay away. That's why the apostle tells us stay away from any of those crowded places. Stay away from all that madness, right? Behold, the days come, saith Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, the Most High Power, that I will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread, nor a thirst for water, but of hearing the word of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. So while people are all in the mix of celebrating the 250th birthday of America, right? 4th of July, right? Hey, things could get drastic on that day, because no empire doesn't last much longer than 250 years. So you got to be wary. That's part of being circumspect. Even the elites, these top scientists, these top people, move the clock, the doomsday clock, saying that the doomsday can happen anytime. So it moved it closer to midnight. These are things that you're supposed to understand and know and be circumspect about, because we're closer to midnight according to Esau, but we're closer to midnight according to this Bible. So with all that, I want to give all praises, all honor, and all glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rachaha Kodash. I'd like to give double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who rule well and do well. To the elder apostles, bishops in Connecticut, the bishops, the preachers, the teachers, the evangelists, and the four winds, preaching in truth and sincerity, risking your lives more now than ever, the hopeful elect, Shalom. To the Israelite foreigners, who phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel through your father and have come back to the fold. Shalom to you sisters, who listen and learn under your husband, which is your spiritual leader, with meekness and with silence, and a Bible ball. Kwam Yasharallah.